Hello, soul family. I love you all and hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to discuss pentagram and hexagram rituals, which include the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, and also invoking ritual of both. So we're just going to discuss it in this one. I'm going to do another few videos where I actually perform these rituals for you, just so you can actually see how they actually are. But today we're just going to discuss theory, what it is, the differences in them, what you're actually doing when you're doing these rituals. So, a lot of people look at these rituals like when you do the banishing rituals of the pentagram, that you're like banishing spirits and things that are around you or whatever. But these rituals are much deeper than that. And what you're really doing is you are establishing yourself as the center of your subjective universe. And a lot of people don't like these rituals because they use Hebrew God names and archangels and stuff. So a lot of people on the left-hand path don't like to perform these rituals. But I can't say enough how important these rituals are for growing your visualization skills, uh, drawing in energy and being able to like pretty much create a space that within which all of your magic that you perform can be like amplified and have it all contained within a certain space. So what you're doing is you're creating a bubble basically that is being held in by the four corners, which is where the archangels are. It's actually the elemental parts of the tetragrammaton. So it's, earth, air, fire, and water, and the strength of these elementals that is holding your space together. And then whenever you perform the ritual, if you're manifesting something, you then after you do all the rituals, let's say you're putting something into a talisman or something, you actually visualize the pentagrams, the archangels, and everything, and the hexagrams above you, all collapse down into that whenever you're doing it. And when you're doing the pentagram rituals, what you're doing is establishing the elemental energies. So you like I said, earth, air, fire, and water. You're establishing that for like the physical plane. And that's why when you're doing the banishing ritual, the pentagram, you're starting down at earth and going up, because your earth is the amalgam or the accumulation of all of the other elements. And when you do the hexagram ritual, what you're doing is you're bringing in the planetary and zodiacal energies for when you're doing much more planetary magic and stuff like that. So the hexagram ritual is for your establishing the elemental ritual space, and also the hexagram rituals are the planetary zodiacal aspect, celestial. So with the the pentagram ritual, most people actually put in the east, having Raphael representing air, but and Michael in the east south. So Michael in the south, but I actually do it a little bit differently. I still have Raphael in the east, but instead I visualize Raphael representing the element fire, because you're trying to make the equilibrium of opposites when you're doing this ritual with the elements. So I found it weird that air was across from earth and water, air, yeah, across from water, and earth across from fire. I felt like it just made much more sense to have them with fire and water, and then earth and air across from each other. So when you're doing this, you start out and you visualize yourself growing bigger and bigger and bigger, until the earth and everything is at the bottom of your feet. So you visualize yourself grow until you see your state, then your country, then further to the entire earth under your feet. And then above your head, there'll be a bright glowing star of like source, basically, or the universe. And you do the Kabbalistic cross, which is Ata Malkut Vegebura Vegedula Leolam Amen. And that is, you are, or unto thee, or you are the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. So after the Kabbalistic cross, then you draw out your pentagrams. With the banishing ritual, you start at the bottom left-hand corner and you visualize blue flaming pentagram from about your hip all the way up, kind of as the shape of your body. And with the invoking, when you're invoking pentagram, you start at the top and draw down to the right. So bottom left going up is banishing, top going down to bottom right is beginning the invoking. And so you draw out the pentagram and see it in blue flames in front of you, and then you step forward and thrust your arms through it, and chant the God name Yod He Vav He. You step back and stomp your foot and do the sign of silence, and then you go back to the center of that pentagram and go to the right clockwise, and you always start in the east, and you go to the next one. You do the same flaming blue pentagram, thrust through it, and this one you say Adonai. You step back, stomp your foot, and do the sign of silence again. You go around then to the west. You do the same flaming blue pentagram, thrust through it, and say back and stomp your foot, sign of silence. Then you go back around to the north. You draw your pentagram, thrust through it. Then you say Agela, stomp your foot, and sign of silence. Then you go back around to the east. At this point, you invoke the elemental energies through the archangels. So you will have your arms out like in the sign of a cross, and you say, visualize behind the pentagram Archangel Raphael with a caduceus, so the staff with the serpent riding up it, and you visualize him in like red flames, and then you say, before me, Raphael, behind me, Gabriel, to my right hand, Michael, and my left hand, Uriel. Then you say, for about me flames the pentagram, within the column. Gotta take this back. I actually also, this is the traditional one, but I actually add in Metatron above and Sandalphon below, but for the Kabbalistic correspondences to Kether and Malkuth. So after you do Uriel, then you say from above Metatron, and from below Sandalphon. And since you have the flaming blue pentagrams around you, above you, and below you envision a flaming blue hexagram, so the six-pointed star. Then after that you say, around me flames the pentagram, and within the column shines the six-rayed star. From there you go back to the Kabbalistic cross, Ata Malkut Vegebura Vegedula Leolam Amen. And I'm gonna, whenever you visualize Raphael before you, he has a caduceus with the serpent going up it, because that's the element, and that's an element fire. Behind me, I visualize Gabriel with a chalice, because that's the element water, and the chalice has the water in it. On my right hand, when I envision Mikael, I envision Mikael with the swords, and swords is connected to the element air. That's another reason why I gave Mikael air and Raphael fire. So Mikael has a sword coming out of his mouth, and since it's the element air, he's wearing armor that's invisible, kind of. You can't see it because the element air is invisible. That's the way I envision it, at least. And then Uriel on the left, I envision as a female with either two reeds of what do you call it, wheat, or you can also envision Uriel with the scythe, so two scythes, like death carries or whatever. And then for some reason, Sandalphon and Metatron in my eyes, I've always visualized them as like Metatron looks like Megatron for some reason, and then Sandalphon to me looks like the bad Transformer. I can't remember his name. But the most important part is visualizing all of the aspects whenever you're doing this. That's one of the most important parts. And then the God names you're using, Yod He Vav He, which is like Yahweh or whatever. Then you have Adonai, which means Lord. And then you have Eheye, which means I am. And then Agela is Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai. It's like a short word for what that thing. So this ritual is so good for whenever you're doing like daily energetic hygiene, because what it does do is it clears etheric patterns. So when there's been energy and thought forms and different things that have happened in a room or a space or something like that, it builds up these etheric patterns in the higher realms, but we just can't see them here, but they do build up. And when you're doing this ritual, it kind of clears and cleans the space and allows just like pure light of yourself. And what you're doing is you're establishing yourself as the Most High. Basically, you're saying you are God. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm, and you are establishing your center point in the universe. And then with the hexagram, you're establishing your center part of the like multiverse, everything. But yeah, I think that's about mostly what I'm gonna say about it. Whenever I'm doing the ritual, I change it a little bit, so I always do the pentagram ritual and then the hexagram ritual after it. And what I will do to kind of even more establish that I am the center of the universe is when I start my Kabbalistic cross, at the beginning, I start with Ata, which is like you are, unto thee, you are. Which is saying, okay, you are the divine. But then at the next Kabbalistic cross I do in between the pentagram ritual and the hexagram ritual, I will change it to Eheye Malkuth Vegebura Vegerdula Leolama Amen, which is I am. So I establish I am the kingdom, I am the power, I am the glory forever and ever, amen. And if you're doing this ritual, if you're left-handed, you're going to do the drawing, the pointing, and the Kabbalistic cross with your left hand. If you're right-handed, you're going to do it with your right hand. And there are many different methods of this ritual. I've seen like a bunch, and then you have like Israel Regardi's Middle Pillar book that actually gives a bunch of different versions of this, like a Greek version, an Egyptian version, and then there's also a Sumerian version I'm going to teach you guys that I use also, especially now while I'm working through the Necronomicon. I'm using the Sumerian version, but yeah, that's pretty much what the ritual is. You're establishing yourself as the center of your subjective universe and giving like a bubble and a space that you can, perform your magic in, and all the energy will stay contained there until you project it out into the multiverse. So that's about it for the discussion on the pentagram and hexagram rituals. Don't let it get you down that there are Hebrew god names and stuff used in the archangels. You just need to understand what these things represent. The archangels are representing the elements and establishing the elemental energies of Malkuth, the physical realm, and then the hexagram rituals. I'll actually perform all these, but then those you're calling on a few Egyptian deities and drawing out the hexagrams in the air and saying Ararita when you pierce each of those. I'll probably make another video like explaining that too in better, so that y'all can have a discussion for the pentagram, discussion for the hexagram, and then a video of me performing each one of those. But that'll be about it for this video, I do believe. Don't let it discourage you that there's Hebrew god names used there. It's definitely establishing you as the entity most people view as God. You're establishing yourself as the center of creation and building your world around you. But make sure you're doing the visualizations, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. The visualizations is like part of the most important part. And eventually you'll get up to where you're visualizing and you can really see these things manifest right in front of you. And yeah, it's beautiful when you can get your visualizations that on point. I love you all. Hope everyone has a wonderful day today. Peace.